Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Hunter Mulholland Show. Sorry about yesterday. The day game got me all screwed up with my schedule, but we're back today. It's Thursday. The Cardinals are off. They are headed up to Chicago to take on the Cubs. And as we mentioned in the last show, right at the end, when the team announced that the Navy hats were returning this weekend on the road against Chicago. So I'm looking forward to seeing those in action again against a team that isn't wearing a red hat as it has been for the last many years since they moved away from the Navy hats on the road and started wearing the red ones more often. I'm very excited to see the Navy hats again. That is a beautiful sound, and that the group running the team now is listening to the fans and what the fans want when it comes to that specific debate. That was a very hot topic for a lot of Cardinals fans. A lot of them love the Navy hats. So to see them return full time is a very, very nice and welcome piece to the end of this season. Now let's get into a little bit about yesterday's ball game. Kyle Leahy continues to be the guy. He only goes 5 innings. That kind of seems like a theme that we're going to see throughout the rest of the season. But the Cardinals really want to get him to 30 starts, so they want to keep him healthy, and they don't want to push him and overload him. This is his first season of being a starter in the major leagues. He is learning. There is that learning curve and that build up. Now, hopefully next year, he's completely unleashed to go out and pitch to the capability that he can. But Cardinals cut him off after 5 strong innings against the Phillies. The only run for Philadelphia comes against Kyle Leahy in a double from Bryce Harper and a double from Luis Arias, turns the score to 1-1 at the time, and then the Cardinals would answer back in the 5th inning with 4 runs of their own. They would tack on 2 more in the 7th, and they would go on to win 7-1, winning the series. Their 3rd consecutive series win so far in this second half. Their 3rd series win in this second half. So the Cardinals are starting to get back on the right foot, and you can see it. You can see them making up some ground. That was an important series. Obviously, they only gained 1 game on Philadelphia in that, but it was important to see St. Louis hang around with them. They've done that, and we can get into it a little bit. Against the Braves, they're 4-2, 2-1 against the Dodgers. I believe they're 5-5 against the Cubs. Got a series with them this week. The Padres, I forget exactly what their record is against them. They lost the season series to the Diamondbacks. Obviously, they lost the season series to the Brewers as well. The Brewers have had their number. Now they're 2-1 against Philly, and they are 1-2, I believe, against the Marlins. So when you look at where they are and the teams ahead of them, they've played fairly well against teams ahead of them. There are specific teams that have given them trouble, but they are hanging around with teams that are going to be in the playoffs this year. And so to see them make the right moves, and if you look over and Boston, the Yankees, Tampa, they've played very well against them. Boston, I believe they're 1-2 against. They beat the Yankees in a series, and they beat the Rays in a series. So see the Cardinals doing all of these things. They swept the Astros too, who are leading the American League West. So St. Louis against playoff teams is fairly solid. They've looked good against those teams, and that's what they kind of have to do down the stretch here. But they've also got to turn it around against teams that are towards the bottom. Like if they would have lost that series to Colorado, that would have been a very, very dark mark on how this season has turned out and how you think that this season should go for St. Louis. Now seeing the quality of play that's on the field this far into the regular season, they're at 121 games, 41 games remaining on the schedule. They've got to make up 2.5 games of ground. Currently, the Phillies and Diamondbacks are tied in the wild card race. The Phillies play tonight against the Minnesota Twins in the Field of Dreams game. And then if you go over and look at the weekend set, nobody else ahead of the Cardinals. The Brewers and Dodgers play. And nobody else. The Marlins. Marlins play. But nobody else other than that. I was looking for the Diamondbacks. They don't play. They do not play tonight. The Marlins play the Pirates today at 1 o'clock Eastern. So looking at the weekend, the Marlins and the Reds are playing each other. So you're trying to chase them down. The Padres play the Guardians. The Phillies have the Twins. And the Diamondbacks have the Atlanta Braves. So lots of motion in front of them, and some good solid matchups in front of them that the Cardinals could get a little bit of a bonus if the Braves can handle the Diamondbacks and help the Cardinals out. The Cardinals take care of business against the Cubs, and all of a sudden you're looking at a potential playoff push with a month and a half left to go in the season, and you're right in the thick of it right now. And to say that after the trade deadline and how it went is something. It's something that I don't think people necessarily expected, especially the way that the second half started. They started off slow, and then you're like, okay, this is the team that it felt like that the Cardinals were going to be this year, with a lot of highs and a lot of lows. They kind of correct course over the last week and are able to put themselves back into consideration of a wild card spot. And we've gotten a lot of comments about it over on STL Sports Central during our postgame shows about the just get in theory. Just get in. This is a team that you did not expect to be in the playoffs. This is not a team that you're expecting to be a contender. This is a young team. The reason why the just get in theory should be okay for now for Cardinals fans is because this team was not supposed to be here. If you get Jordan Walker, Alec Burleson, Mason Wynn, JJ Weatherholt, if you get that young core of Ivan Herrera, you get those guys playoff experience now. When you are contenders and your roster is, again, probably going to have some youth in it coming up from the minor leagues, you are prepared and you are ready for what lies ahead. And you have guys that have been there. They've seen it. They know what it looks like. They know what it takes. And you have those guys ready to go and go and lead your team instead of also learning at the same time. And so that's completely why I think that the just get in theory for now, while people might have gotten a little bit irritated with it from John Mozeliak towards the end of his tenure, should be okay this season, maybe even next, because you don't expect this team to come back out in 2027 and be ready to go and contend for a World Series title. The timeline that I've been sitting on has always been 2028. And even then, that feels a little bit early to start it. Like, I think that that's really where the window begins. Like, that's where, okay, if you go on a run in 28, nobody's going to say they saw it coming, but it's not going to be as outlandish as if they were to go on a run this year. So that's why I think 2028 is like that very beginning, that early stages of that window. And you've got guys that are signed longer than that. Go and build on it. Go and prepare yourself to make a push for a World Series in the future. And it starts with just getting these guys playoff experience this season. You get into the playoffs, and who knows? Anything can happen once you get to October. But you got to get in first. You do have to get in first. That is the number one thing. So if you're looking around the league and kind of watching the Cardinals, yes, they do need help. But they've got to take care of their own business too. If they don't take care of their business, then whether or not help comes at all won't matter. So they've got to go into Chicago this weekend, take care of business, and put themselves in a position to push forward. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Cardinals lineup construction recently. So it's very clear that Oliver Marmol wants to go left, right, left, right, left, right with his top six, and even into the bottom three of his lineup, which that typically changes more depending on the handedness of who's throwing against them. But yesterday, you see Nathan Church in the 5 spot, 1 for 3, 2 RBIs. A 648 OPS is not necessarily the season stat line that you want to see from your 5 spot hitter, the guy that's supposed to fill the role in the middle of the lineup, the guy that's supposed to protect Jordan Walker and get him some pitches to hit. But Nathan Church does a fine job yesterday and gets the job done and propels his 2 RBIs, help the team get over the hump and blow out and really handle the Philadelphia Phillies yesterday. So, and you've seen Jimmy Crooks there, who's got a 564 OPS this season and a 173 batting average. That's not necessarily the line that you want to see from your 5 spot hitter, like I said, but when you trade Lars Nootbaar away, who was kind of the guy that you could fill, he takes good at bats, and he can protect. He's got enough pop to where he can protect Jordan Walker a little bit. It kind of sets you in a position to where now you don't have anybody past that top 4 that you necessarily wholly trust in that spot. Whether or not you go, right-handed or not, I don't think there's a true guy that lines up in that spot. Maybe Blaze Jordan. Maybe you trust Blaze Jordan. He's a contact guy. Maybe Jose Fermin as well. The problem with those 2 guys is Jordan has power, but you haven't seen too much of it. He only has the single home run in his time here with St. Louis, and Fermin is more of a contact guy, and that's okay. It's something that the Cardinals need to figure out in the future if they want to go and be a World Series contender. But it's not something that I think is going to be solved by the end of the season. Now, I do want to talk about one other thing. Nolan Gorman, who has been making a very solid and very strong push at AAA. Kind of looks like he's getting back on the right track. He went deep again yesterday. So with all this talk of Joshua Baez potentially coming up and being a member of the Cardinals for the rest of the season over this weekend against Chicago, because his rookie eligibility would be safe. It would be away from the 45-day roster time that he would be eligible for Rookie of the Year next year. So maybe there is the shot that Joshua Baez comes up. But I think that there's also the chance that it's Nolan Gorman. I mean, if you look at who the Cardinals started yesterday at third base, it's Cesar Prieto, who just got his first hit of 2026 yesterday. And if you're worried about offense, and that's the guy that they're starting, yes, Nolan Gorman has had issues at the major league level, but he also has power, and he's had stretches where he's looked really, really good. And if the Cardinals found a way, and if they believe that they have fixed Nolan Gorman's swing, I don't think that there's anything stopping them from doing it and pulling the trigger on it. And here's the entire possibility. he comes up and he might slot into the 5 spot simply because of the power. That just might be where it is. And the other part of it is, if Gorman comes up, there's a very good chance that you see what you've been seeing of the platoon of left and right at third base. Days you're facing a lefty, Blaze Jordan's playing. Days you're facing a righty, Nolan Gorman's playing when he's back. And I think that that's probably the way that it's going to fit and it's going to work. It will remain to be seen until they pull the trigger and do it to see if it's the right move. And we can speculate all day long. I can speculate on whether or not. And I've been a big Nolan Gorman believer. I believe that he still has some talent left in him that he has not shown, and that he can develop to be the guy that you want him to be. But he has not proven that since I believe it was his sophomore campaign, where he hit nearly 30 home runs. So the future of third base, I don't think, is in this organization, but you got to find a way to make it work this year. And here's the other thing with that. Maybe that's just how the Cardinals are going to have to play it. Gorman gives you a little bit of flexibility. If he's not in the lineup, he gives you a power left-handed bat off of the bench. Jordan gives you versatility playing first and third. Same thing with Gorman. He can play second base if you need him to. He can play first base if you need him to. There is some flexibility to where if you have the two of them on the bench, then you're kind of set in the way that you want to build out your roster. But I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the way that the Cardinals go about it. And we'll see. We'll see what the call is. When Nolan Gorman comes back to St. Louis, we'll see what happens. But it doesn't matter at this point. You've just got to see him play and see if he can do it. Because you got to make a decision sooner rather than later. The other part, I mentioned it a little bit, Kyle Leahy continues to just absolutely shove. Continues to be the guy that the Cardinals want and need in their rotation. Over his last 7 games, a 1.75 ERA, 3 wins, no losses, 7 earned runs over 36 innings. If you go back to his last 15, 5-1, last 30, 9-4. Obviously, 30 doesn't even 30 is his entire season. So 23 starts is all he has. 9-4 on the year, a 3.38 ERA. That's really good for what you thought Kyle Leahy was going to be. For all the question marks and the beginning of the season where you thought Kyle Leahy wasn't going to have it, that is a really good stat line to push out at the end of the year. And the run he has been on has been fantastic. It feels like every 5th day, you know that Leahy's taking the ball and you know that he's going to go and give you a chance to win. He's going to go 5 innings, maybe 6. But he's going to toss out earned run totals. I'm just going to start on yesterday, and I'm going to go backwards. And I'm going to read off his totals since the All-Star break. 1 earned run against Philly in 5 innings. 2 earned run in 5 innings against Colorado. 1 earned run in 6 innings against Toronto. 2 in 6 against Cincy. 1 in 6 against the Angels. And that's all since the All-Star break. Let's just keep going. 0 in 3 against Atlanta. 0 in 5 against Chicago. 1 in 5 against Miami. 0 in 6 1/3 against Arizona. And then you start to see where the totals get higher. This is still a quality start. 3-6 against San Diego, gave up 4-5 against Minnesota, and 3-4 against Cincinnati. And if you keep going back, like that's right, right there is like his last kind of rough stretch, and that was the beginning of June. Since the midpoint of June, Kyle Leahy has been the best pitcher on the St. Louis Cardinals. And it's not even close. It's not even close. He has pitched so well for St. Louis that it starts to make you wonder if maybe we were wrong at the beginning of the year when we said maybe Kyle Leahy doesn't have it. Maybe he needs to go to the bullpen. Let's get Quinn Matthews up here. Because now the answer is that you do something with Matthew Liberatore and you get Quinn Matthews up here, which Quinn Matthews is likely the guy that comes up on Monday next week when the Cardinals play Cincinnati. I'm sure that when the rosters expand, he's up full time and he's getting more innings. The Cardinals have put themselves in a position with the pitching staff that you didn't expect. You came into the year with Matthew Liberatore, Kyle Leahy, Dustin May, Andre Pallante, and Michael McGreevy. Dustin May's gone. So now it's Hunter Dobbins. There were question marks surrounding Pallante, Leahy, Liberatore, Dustin May, whether he was going to be healthy or not. The only guy that didn't necessarily have any questions about whether or not what he was going to be able to give you was Michael McGreevy. He was the only guy that when I sat down and I saw the opening day roster and I saw the opening day rotation, he was the only guy that I felt like I trusted to take the ball every fifth day because I didn't know what I was going to get from Dustin May. I had high hopes for Dustin May. I thought that if he comes back healthy, he can show what he was during his time with the Dodgers, when he was touted and came up and was fantastic. Injuries derailed him. You get a healthy Dustin May this year, and he actually pitched fairly well for you before you trade him away. I thought there were question marks about Matthew Liberatore at the end of the year last year, the stamina, the holding velo, and kind of how the end of the year shaped out for him after a fairly solid start. I thought there were questions about how Kyle Leahy was going to adjust to being a starter, how Andre Pallante was going to bounce back from a very rough season. Kyle Leahy has knocked that out of the park, and so has Andre Pallante for that matter. Those two guys have been unbelievable to watch. Michael McGreevy has had his games where he's gotten hit around a little bit. He is a pitch to contact guy. That's just going to be the case for him. He's going to pitch to contact. He's going to use his defense. And sometimes you're going to get burned. But if you get into the playoffs and you get to a 3-game wildcard series and you line up McGreevy, Pallante, Leahy, I feel confident in those three that you're going to get a chance to make it to the division series. I'm not saying that it's for certain. The offense has to show up and the bullpen has to not implode. But those three guys are going to give you a shot. So, looking at the Cardinals' probable pitchers this weekend, tomorrow night, you are getting Matthew Liberatore. Saturday, you're getting Michael McGreevy. And Sunday, you're getting Hunter Dobbins in the Windy City. Last time out, Liberatore did not have a strong game whatsoever. So hopefully he can bounce back. But it does not does not sound hopeful for Matthew Liberatore. The Cubs have really kind of teed up on him this season, and so he's going to have a tough test ahead of him, but you got to hope that the offense can come out and take advantage of Wrigley Field and do their thing to get them in a ball game against their most hated rival. That game is going to be on Apple TV, and then they are back on local networks on Saturday before they are the Sunday afternoon baseball game on ABC and ESPN with Dobbins on the mound. Hopefully that looks to be a sweep, but you got to get through the first two first. So we'll put all eyes on Matthew Liberatore tomorrow afternoon at Wrigley Field. Thank you guys for watching. This has been the Hunter Mulholland Show. Please like and subscribe here on YouTube. Give me a follow on X. Give me a follow on TikTok and Instagram. Hunter Mulholland Media on both of those. Hunter Mulholland 4 on X. The Cardinals are putting themselves in a position to go out and make a push, and it should be a fun end of the year. I will be here every day during the week to give you my thoughts and how and talk Cardinals baseball with you and looking at the minor leagues and all of that fun stuff right here on the Hunter Mulholland Show. So please like and subscribe, share with your friends. I will talk to you guys tomorrow.